Okay. You know the deal, Trev. You need a musical intro, but this week my only request, since it is October, it is the spook season. You gotta give us a spooky intro, okay? Spooky musical intro. You can do whatever you like. Okay, spook me.
You know, I've actually got a serious topic on my mind today. I don't think it's going to be much in the way of music, but this is about the serious topic of kneeling during the national anthem. And I just wanted to talk about it because I think it's ridiculous that people should be kneeling during the Monster Mash, our national anthem. I mean, people thinking that, like, Francis Scott Key is, like, slapping over here on the national anthem. The Star Spangled Banner. No, the Monster Mash both caught on in a flash and was a graveyard smash. And that's all I have to say about that.
Do you know the national anthem?
Yeah, it goes like this. They did the mash. They did the Monster Mash. The Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash.
That would explain our current political system. Wah. Welcome, everyone, to the Anthony and Todd Show. I'm your host, Vincent, a.k.a. Vinny Vincent, a.k.a. Skinny James Murphy, a.k.a. I recently watched Clockwork Orange, and I'm pretty sure Joba from Brockhampton plays one of the goons, a.k.a. can we all agree that the Scooby-Doo fruit snacks are the best fruit snacks? And I'm joined today by my ever-attentive co-host, my best friend, Trevor, a.k.a. Time to Meet Your God, a.k.a. TP Ghost, a.k.a. Danny Brown's Missing Tooth Gap. Rest in peace, my good friend.
I'll miss him.
A.k.a. Little Butter Noodles, a.k.a. a pop vinyl figure of thick dad bod Kanye West. Welcome again to the Anthony and Todd Show. We got an extra special episode planned for you this week. We're talking about two releases that we were both really anticipating. That is, of course, Injury Reserve's new EP, Drive It Like It's Stolen, and the new Iglooghost album, Neō Wax Bloom. An episode we would like to call Drive It Like It's Car. It's a car, like, you gotta drive it like it's a car. It's pretty...
That's all you gotta do.
Straight.
You put the keys in, and then you drive it.
But the question is where?
Away.
Oh.
The end.
That is an answer. The end.
Alright, Injury Reserve is an American hip-hop trio consisting of Steppa J. Gruggs and Richie with a T, along with producer Parker Corey, the man seen on the cover of one of the greatest mixtapes of 2015, live from the dentist office. I wish you could see his face. It's great. They have come out with a new EP, Drive It Like It's Stolen, just came out on September 29th. Let's talk to it.
We gotta talk to these records.
Let's talk to it.
Record, how are you doing today?
This sucks. I hate this.
You literally hate this?
What?
You hate this?
Injury Reserve?
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant talking to the records. I like it. I like Injury Reserve.
You just hate this joke? Did Curran J. Callanan ruin that joke for you?
Yeah, it was a bad joke.
It was a bad joke. Okay. So
Sorry,
do we need a new joke?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the new joke?
Drive it like it's a car. That's the only joke in the episode.
It's the
this
only
is
joke.
a serious episode with no jokes.
Yeah, we need to go back to serious topics like kneeling during the Monster Mash. Our true national anthem.
You should be up and dancing for that. No kneeling allowed.
Injury Reserve, of course, we already mentioned indie hip-hop trio. Two solid mixtapes under their belt, as mentioned before, with Live from the Dentist Office and Floss.
And 2016.
Two projects that I personally really enjoyed, and I
yes.
feel like had not only some of the best rhymes from Groggs and Richie with the T, but also some of the best production out there. Tracks like Yo, tracks like Everyone Knows, tracks like...
It's good to be home. It's good to be home.
Tracks like Oh Shit, tracks like All This Money have some fantastic production.
I made it a classic.
It's just so many hits come from these two mixtapes, and I was really excited to see where Injury Reserve is going to go from there. I was expecting them to have something this year. I wasn't expecting maybe a full project or maybe even an EP, but maybe like a single or two or something. I feel like not that they really needed to keep their name relevant, but I felt like it would have been nice to just hear from them at least every year with something, not a full-blown project.
I think they're still fighting to keep relevance in the industry, especially with Brockhampton coming up with their new stuff. And it's not saying they're direct competition. I think that they work together, at least behind the scenes, at least to some degree. But yeah, I think definitely Injury Reserve needs to keep their relevance.
That's what they want you to think. Brockhampton's going to annex Injury Reserve.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to my star-studded idea of Brockhampton annexing Injury Reserve, and any rappers that get injured during active duty have to make music under the Injury Reserve label instead of Brockhampton. Solid idea.
Ever-changing lineup.
Ever-changing lineup. Amir Van gets a kidney rupture. You gotta go to the Injury Reserve. I think I've told this story.
Stubs his toe on the dresser. He's gotta go to the Injury Reserve.
Guys, I'm fine. You gotta go to the Injury Reserve.
No.
There's like 20 people in this group.
Gets a hangnail. Injury Reserve.
It was actually a surprise when they announced they're releasing an EP this year. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect this to be as good as Floss or as good as Live from the Dentist's Office, because it is an EP and there's only so much.
Dentist theme.
And it's not dentist themed.
It's not teeth themed. I'm serious.
I know. I got
what
you.
The heck?
I was laughing. I don't know why. Just let me laugh, dude. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be as close as quality to those two projects, but I at least expected this to have a great amount of moments to it. It may have not been their most solid project, but if it had decent moments to it, that's all I could ask for. And here we are. They released it earlier last Friday. And personally, I feel okay about it. It's hard to explain. I think it is a good project. I think it is a good EP. But again, comparing it to their previous work, I don't think it's as good as that. Not that I think you should compare it to their previous work or anything like that. But overall, I think this is a good EP. It's a good mesh of different styles. It is a little bit more darker in tone at parts.
Definitely, yeah.
It is a little bit more moodier. It's a little bit more aggressive. When listening to this, I think the EP serves as almost an experimentation of sorts. Them trying out new ideas, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. I think that's actually a perfect way to do EPs. It's not a full project, so your fans are not expecting like the moon and a half, but it gives you an opportunity to explore. And I feel like that's a really, really interesting thing that they did on this project. Now, of the things that hit and didn't hit, overall, I feel like the production on this project, I'm not going to say it's bad, but I feel like a lot of the songs on this EP, with a few exceptions, don't really progress production-wise. They kind of just do the same loop over and over again, and they don't progress. Best example of this track, 10/10s, which is pretty, I want to say, similar to the track Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo off of Floss. It is a little bit more experimental. Richie with the T comes through with these weird bars. Groggs comes through with this weird vocal filter, which makes his voice really distorted, which I don't really care for.
No.
But I feel like this track would have been worth it if it progressed to something. It just kind of stays in the same loop and doesn't really go anywhere. And it's a shame because Richie with the T is dropping solid bars, Groggs is dropping solid bars, but it doesn't take you anywhere. And for the whole entire 2 minutes or something, however long the song is, it just kind of stays in the same place, and then you go to See You Sweat. And there's a couple tracks also on this project that kind of just do the same thing. They don't really progress production-wise. They kind of just stay in the same lane for the course of the entire song. Best example of this, I think, Boom and Colors and Chin Up all kind of just stay in the same production cycle. They kind of just do the same thing for the length of the song. Not that the production is bad. I feel like a lot of the production on this album is good, but it just doesn't really progress to what I'm used to from Injury Reserve. And I expected a little bit more out of them for that front. And I think Parker Corey is a great producer. I feel like some of the production on this just could be better. none of it. I wouldn't say none of the production on this album is terrible. It just doesn't progress enough to make it great, as good as it could be. Other than that, I feel like 10/10 is the weakest track on this
I would definitely
project.
say so.
And going from there, I feel like the rest of this project's completely fine. Like, listening to this... I listen to this project a lot. I've listened to this EP
It's
like...
an easy, short listen. That's for sure.
I've listened to it like 10 times already. Mm-hmm. Just because I would just have it on and I'd be working on stuff or just have it on the back, and I've listened to this EP like 10 times. Just because it's a nice, easy listen. Now, if you're new to Injury Reserve and you want to give them a try, don't start with this. Start with Floss or Live at the Dentist's Office. Like, this is not a good starting point for Injury Reserve. For people who want to get interested in Injury Reserve, it just doesn't have... While it may have some of their best material, it isn't a good indicator to what the group is all about. But I'm kind of interested in seeing the group take some of their ideas from this project and incorporating them into later projects. Like the sampling on See You Sweat, how they just sample a police siren, and goddamn is it fantastic.
They also sample dripping water.
That's actually sweat. That's physical sweat. That's how they got that sound effect.
They sweated onto the microphone.
Yeah. Now, what did you think about this project, Trev?
I would definitely agree with your points in saying 10/10 is definitely the weakest track on the album, or the EP. And I think that it's not a good starting point. And it's definitely a weaker project when compared to Live and Floss. And it really shouldn't be compared to those because, like you said, EPs are, in my mind at least, supposed to be experimental. They're EPs for a reason and not studio albums. And I think that they've experimented with a lot of different sounds in this. Some of them work, obviously. Like you said, See You Sweat. I think really good production, really good sampling, and it really almost redeems what could possibly have taken like a horrible turn for the album by putting 10/10 as the first track on the EP. I mean, that could have potentially been devastating, but I think that See You Sweat completely made up for it. I think that it's got some of the sharpest lyrics in all of Injury Reserve's discography. Look at Richie's verse on Boom Times 3 about like ghostwriting. I think that's just a really cool thing. It's so easily delivered. It flows right off the tongue with all these internal rhymes and talking about how it doesn't like matter who writes the songs. I know that's like a big controversy. And it doesn't always get talked about. And I think that this was delivered in a really potent way. Probably in the most potent way ghostwriting has been talked about since Andre 3000's verse on Frank's solo track.
Going into what I think is the best track, North Pole, which was the first single from North Pole, which is the first single off this EP that they released, kind of hit me by surprise that they went with something so chill, something so emotional, something so, I want to effortless, but at the same time passionate. North Pole was produced both by Parker Corey and Austin Feinstein. Austin Feinstein's most known for working with Frank Ocean and Tyler Creator. He played a lot of the guitars on Tyler Creator's last album, Flower Boy. And I feel like he's a good vocalist, and anytime he pops up on a hip-hop track, I feel like it fits so well for some reason. I don't know why his indie rock style just is incorporated in the hip-hop so well. I don't know how it meshes perfectly, but his performance on this track, his production, is just so great. And I feel like everything he adds to the track is able to bring out more of a passionate performance in Groggs and Richie with a T. And I feel like everything's just able to mesh so well that it comes through as like one of their best songs like that they have made so far. Probably top 3 of their best songs. Probably one of my personal favorites. This song's obviously going to go on my best of the year list for top songs because I think it's fantastic. I feel like everyone's performance is so great. Everyone comes through with so much emotion that it fits. I feel like Austin Feinstein and Injury Reserve, a collaboration I didn't know I wanted to see, is just so perfect together.
I mean, like we were talking earlier, I definitely think that there are a lot of really, really good tracks on this album, or EP. Like you said, North Pole. Personally, Boom is my favorite. But I also really like See You Sweat. And I really, really like the outro, Chin Up. I think it's a really cool trade-off of rhymes between Richie and Groggs. There's like 10 verses on it. And the very last one is like, thanks for copping this. Like, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for your support. We made it, They're not overthinking rap. They still work like Richie, I'm pretty sure, works at the Finish Line, like shoe store. I just think that, I'm sure I've talked about this before. When artists like thank their fans or like personally
show support for people listening.
Yeah, show support for their fans the way that the fans support them. Like when we went to the Mega Ran concert and he came out and shook everybody's hand. The way that Father John Misty released that Real Love Baby. Like that was a love letter to his fans. And Injury Reserve's coming through with Chin Up. I just think that's a really cool thing that I think needs to start trending in artists.
Okay. I saw this video on Twitter yesterday. And I forget who posted it. It may have been Parker Corey. It may have been Richie with a T. It may have been the Injury Reserve Twitter account or something like that. But there's this video of Chin Up. And Parker Corey's just sitting there at the production table. And he's slowly sliding down the slider as the song... Because the song has a long fade out. Which is fantastic, by the way. I love me a good solid fade out, especially this one because it has lyrics to it. It's almost like an ongoing song that just kind of slowly fades into the abyss, which is fantastic. But there's a video of him slowly fading down the slider, and then it just turns over to Richie with a T, and he's wearing like a cowboy hat, and he says, "That will do," and he just walks out. It is the strangest thing I've ever seen. So, immediately confirmed, next Injury Reserve album is going to be cowboy themed, right?
Cowboy Dentist Office. It's got a track like Yo, except for it's called Yeehaw. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Holy guacamole.
Holy guacamole. One thing I also want to mention, the track 91, Cadillac DeVille. I love Steppa Grog's verse on that. I think it's just a nice little story he tells about his first car and losing it immediately, almost.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It goes back to, like, they're not overthinking this.
Yeah.
There's no, like, specific story. It's literally just, he got a car, and he lost it.
Fits into the theme of driving it like it's stolen, I guess.
See, I've got a theory, okay? I think that they went to the dentist's office, and they flossed, okay? But then I think that, like, they had some laughing gas, and now they're driving away. They are taking... Parker Corey had a dentist appointment, and they're taking him home from the dentist appointment.
He had to get all his teeth replaced with gold.
With gold.
He didn't get a grill. He literally just got all of his teeth replaced with gold.
And now they're just driving him home.
Yeah.
And he's going to get some sleep, and then when he wakes up... they're going to make some mashed potatoes and Jell-O so he can eat soft foods.
Only soft foods. Your gums are going to fall apart if you don't eat that hard soft foods. Teeth will fall out.
The end.
The end. That's the end of the review. Remember to eat soft foods after you go from the dentist. Overall, I really enjoy this EP, even though it starts out so poorly, in a sense. I do think, other than the main production flaws, I feel like Injury Reserve is pretty much on point as they've always been with their verses. Even though their production is kind of lacking at times, I feel like it's easy to get over it. This project is basically them experimenting with different styles, some of them darker than others, some of them are more experimental with others, some of them are more moodier than others, but I feel like it kind of comes together in a nice way. Yeah, I honestly really enjoy this project. I think overall I'm going to give it like an 8, straight 8. I really enjoyed it.
I'd have to agree, I think. It's different, but it's good.
Yeah.
Not all difference is bad.
There's some elements I do not want to see on their next project, and there's some elements I would really be interested in seeing. Again, more sampling like there were on See You Sweat, more guest verses and more guest production like there was on North Pole, more collaborations. I would be interested in all of that stuff. And Parker Corey is a great producer. Steppa Groggs and Richard with the T or two of the best MCs out there right now. And don't miss out on this project. If you've listened to Injury Reserve before, check it out. This is a great EP. They have some of their best material on this project, and in my personal opinion, it's great. Are you ready for some quickie reviews?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to start off by talking about the new Alvvays album, Antisocialites. Alvvays, Canadian pop band. Wait, Canadian pop band, right?
Get them out of here.
I know Trevor probably has a lot to say about this project, more than I do. I listened to it, and I don't think this project's bad. I don't think it really has anything terrible to it. I think songwriting's fine. I think production's fine. Karen McGlennon's voice is fine. It's just, personally, what I dislike about this project is it's not music I'd be interested in. It's just nothing I want to hear. And I'm not saying this is a bad project. I recommend you trying this out, because I've heard a lot of people actually like this project, and I don't think it's a bad project. It's just nothing I'm interested in hearing right now. From a personal stance, I don't think anything on this project really wows me in any sense, but I don't think anything in this project kind of detracts from it being decent. But yeah, I like, when this album was being promoted, I've seen a lot of people like promote it or be really excited for it on Symbol, and like people were like creaming their pants over the singles, and a lot of people are actually really excited about this project. And I, listening to the singles, I was like, oh, they're okay. Listening to the album, it's like, oh, it's okay. I just don't really care for it personally. It's kind of like how I felt about the Joey Badass album. Nothing bad is on that project, but it's just nothing I care for or care to listen to right now in this current moment. 3 months down the line, I may be listening to this Alvvays record and be like, oh my god, I've been missing out on something so great. But right now, I just don't really care for it. Every listen I gave to this, it was just kind of boring, and it's nothing I'm interested in hearing in the current moment. Nothing too extraordinary, nothing too flashy. It's just all right.
I thought it was an enjoyable listen. It's not too long. It's only like 30 minutes. I really enjoy Molly Rankin's vocals. I think that she's just a really easygoing singer. She's Canadian.
Canadian? What do you have against Canadians? you have a thing against Canadians and Australians.
You Vegemite-eating kangaroo jockey. No, I don't have anything.
I'm gonna force you to review the new Alex Cameron album.
Oh no!
Because he's Canadian.
I'm not gonna.
And it's also kind of jokey too.
I won't do it.
It's like Kieran J. Callahan light, which is
free version.
It's
freemium.
It's just like similar style, I guess, but not as jokey. Like he like his persona is jokey, but not his music's not as jokey.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of quality. We're going to talk about it at some point eventually down the line, at least in a quicker review or something. But it's on my list. I haven't fully listened to the album all the way through, but something we're going to talk about eventually. Go on to whatever you're talking about.
All right. I was just going to say I think it's a pretty enjoyable listen. It's just very easygoing. I like when Mac DeMarco describes his music as like jangle pop or jingle jangle. I kind of think that's what it is. It's just a very jangly kind of album. I think that first track, In Undertow, is the best track on the album. From there, I mean, it's fine. Sounds good. If you only check out one track, In Undertow is probably your track. And if that suits you, then you're going to like the rest of the album. But if it doesn't suit you, then chances are you're not going to like it. I think it's pretty much it.
Next thing I'm going to be doing a little quick review of is the new Not Fortune album, mixtape, whatever. I forget what it is. But Paradise. Knox Fortune is mostly known, at least by me, of being a collaborator, Mr. Chance the Rapper, and Mr. Joey Perp. But Knox Fortune, I feel like a lot of people know him from having a guest feature on Chance the Rapper's coloring book on the track All Night. I really enjoyed his feature on that track. I love his vocals, and I thought it was really interesting. He also produced one of my favorite tracks last year. He produced Joey Perp's Girls At, which also features Chance the Rapper. It's just a fun... Joey Perp's verse was great. I felt like Chance's verse was fantastic. One of my favorite of last year, and the production was matched so perfectly. And I heard of this project, Knox Fortune's new project, Paradise, through Google Play Music. They recommended to me, and the album art looked interesting. And I was like, okay, I kind of know Knox Fortune. Let's try this out. And going into it, actually, I think it's an okay listen. I actually like a decent amount of the songs on this project, and even the songs I don't really care for, I don't think there's anything really too wrong to them. I feel like the biggest problem with this project is Knox Fortune's vocals they contain a lot of auto-tune or vocal effects. He manipulates his voice a lot, and that can make a lot of the tracks seem different. And also it's sometimes his vocal effects don't really fit over the production that he's giving, and it kind of makes it seem a little bit of a mess. But there are some fantastic moments on this project. No Dancing and Little Thing are amazing, especially Little Thing. That track is fantastic. I love it so much. Also on this project, there's a verse from Joey Purp he features, and Cammy. I think a lot of people should give it a listen because I feel like the production is good. I really like Knox Fortune's style. I feel like other than some weaker songwriting, some production, some vocal effects, I feel like there's a lot of potential to be had here, and I'm excited to see what Knox Fortune drops next because I feel like it has potential to be really, really good. Example, Little Thing is so good. Check that track out. It's fantastic. I've been listening to it a lot recently. It's just so good. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people would actually find moments on this album to be fantastic, as much as I do. I think there's a lot of potential to be had here, as I mentioned before, but I'm excited to see what's in the future of Knox Fortune. So next thing we're going to be talking about, 319, which is the newly formed collaboration of Oneohtrix Point Never and Ishmael Butler of Shabazz Palaces. They came together through for this Adult Swim single, and I hope it leads to a new album because I think this single is so fantastic. The single is called The Rapture, and Shabazz Palaces is an artist I find really, really hit or miss. I feel like if he has good production behind him, it makes his abstract and experimental rhymes worth it. And on this track, I feel like Oneohtrix Point Never matches Ishmael Butler's verses. I feel like everything's able to come together on this track. Oneohtrix Point Never comes through with his experimental, wacky production, I want to say, and Ishmael Butler comes through with these abstract rhymes that are great. Who the best? Who the best? Who's the best? But yeah, this single is really good. I was kind of, when I heard this was a collaboration between Ishmael Butler and Oneohtrix Point Never, I was kind of nervous at first because Shabazz Palace's last album I didn't really care for because I felt like it wasn't really interesting. It was just kind of really boring, and Ishmael Butler wasn't really doing anything super out there, super creative. It was just kind of like an abstract mess, I felt like. And the two albums that he dropped on the same day, it wasn't enough material to drop two albums. It wasn't even enough material to drop one album, I feel like. There were some good moments on there, like Shine a Light and 30 Clip Extension, but I feel like overall those two projects were really, really weak. But I hope this collaboration between Oneohtrix Point Never and Ishmael Butler goes through. I'm interested to hear more from this. Hopefully it's just not a one-off. I hope there's actually more to this. And finally, the week after we talk about Run the Jewels drops a new single, Mean Demeanor, which is part of
FIFA 18.
And in my opinion, it's just a throwaway. It's nothing more than a throwaway. I feel like
threw the ball back into the bounds of the field.
That's how soccer works, right?
It actually is how soccer works.
Oh, okay. But I feel like on this, it's kind of like throwaway production from LP. There's nothing really too exciting from it. And Killer Mike has a verse that's very similar at times to his verse on Everybody Stay Calm. And LP, parts of his verse sound very similar to Lie, Cheat, and Steal. So I don't know what that's all about. It's not like the same rhymes, but it's same almost flow in a sense and same parts of rhymes. I don't know. But it's oddly similar, and this is, I feel, like a super throwaway track. I don't think it's worth your time if you're a Run the Jewels fan. I don't think there's really anything to it. I think they were just kind of hired on to do FIFA 18, and they kind of just did throwaway, which I can't blame them. But like at least this is just, it's not from a forthcoming project. I hope it's not, at least. It's just not worth the time of day. That's it for the quickie reviews this week. Yay! Okay, are you ready to get ghosted?
Yeah.
Iglooghost to be precise.
Yeah.
Iglooghost.
Gonna go up, didn't you?
Iglooghost is an Irish producer who says he's 13 years old, but I'm pretty sure he's like 20 something.
I think he's probably 130 years old.
That's a good estimate. Good job, Trev, with your research.
Thank you.
He kind of blew up 2 years ago with his Chinese New Year EP, which was only like a simple taste to what he has, like all the potential he has. He's on Flying Lotus's label, Brain Feeder Records, and I feel like he's a really, really interesting force right now in dance and electronic music, because I'm not interested to hear like what features he has on his projects. I'm interested to hear the production, not anything else. I'm no surprise features or anything like that. I'm interested to just hear him and his style. It's really, I want to say, messy, collective. There's a lot to it. It's dense, it's thick, but at the same time it's so fun and catchy that it's so all over the place. It's like a was it Jackson Pollock painting, I would say. Just kind of throwing paint all over the place, and it's messy, but at the same time it's appealing in a sense. And not to say that that's how he makes music, but I feel like everything, he puts a lot of care into everything he makes. Even though he has a lot of these instruments going over each other, I feel like it's so packaged so well that it fits. And this new record that he has, just as an album, I think flows better than any album I've listened to this year. Just flow. Just going from one track to the next.
I couldn't even tell where one ended and the next began.
But here's the thing. Sometimes that's bad. Like, I think King Gizzard kind of did that with Murder of the Universe, and that's what killed it for me, because there was no breaks. On this project, you get specific moments where there are breathers, and that's what I enjoy about the project so much. You get moments to breathe. Moments like Bug Thief and I think Peanut Choker and Infinite Mint are kind of breather moments in a sense. Mm-hmm. It's not just track after track after track after track after track and just kind of thrusting you against a wall. You do get moments to absorb the information that you've been given from Iglooghost, and I feel like this new project of his it's super fun. Like, I don't think there's that much to it. It's great.
I think that in the sense that it flows so well, I don't want to, I guess, make the assumption, but I don't think it matters as much because it's an instrumental album, and it's fully instrumental. So I don't think it really matters like what track is what, because it just flows. I treat every album and every mixtape and every EP as like a single project, and I think that flow, like from one track to the next, subject-wise, lyric-wise, instrumental-wise, is important to me, and I think that Iglooghost like really nails that down. I think that it's very, very solid on this project. I think that definitely Iglooghost puts so much care, like you said, so much care into each track he makes. I was just reading the other day on White Gum, the second single I think that came off of it, right? Yep. He posted on YouTube, and he had to like explain what it was about. And he said, please imagine a monk called Yomi and a little bug boy in a cloak called Uso having a huge fight, hopping over levitating fruit and firing lasers at each other. And like, once you hear that, it makes more sense. Like, you can hear the lasers, you can hear the levitating fruit, you can hear the bug boy. Like, it's just very, very aesthetic without being aesthetic, without having any describing words. As I listened to this project, I kept thinking of all sorts of different things that it reminded me of. I didn't think about lyrical content. I didn't have to think about like instrumental content. I just thought about what the songs reminded me of. I got hints of the Splatoon soundtrack in here, how fast-paced and drum fill heavy it was with nonsense lyrics, like much of Splatoon's soundtrack. I thought of, on Bug Thief, I thought of very Animal Crossing-esque chords, imagining me running around in my town in the rain with these like very relaxing kind of melodic chords being played in the background. That's what it reminded me of. I thought about all sorts of different pieces of media that it reminded me of. I was reminded of Princess Mononoke, like the Studio Ghibli film. All sorts of like very Eastern and Western influences from Iglooghost's work, and I think it's just really cool that I didn't have to focus on the lyrical content. I didn't have to focus on what he was saying. I just focused on the types of emotion that it evoked in me.
What is your favorite track on this project? Because mine personally is Solar Blade. I just think that it's just so much fun. Like I can't even explain it more than that. It's just one of the funnest songs I've heard this year.
I really like Super Ink Burst. I really liked, like you said, Solar Blade. I really liked Bug Thief. I think that was probably one of my favorites. It's just a nice breather moment. I love Animal Crossing. It's such a relaxing game, and this is like what evoked that emotion in me. Like I said, me running around in the rain, catching fish, catching bugs, showing them off. Like, so relaxing. 8 p.m., kind of going a little bit dark in the town. There's people still out. They want to talk to you, all your neighbors, and it's pouring down rain. Everybody's got those little umbrellas carrying them around. It's so relaxing. I feel so relaxed just thinking about it. That's what Bug Thief reminds me of. Just a very cool feeling to me.
Yeah, because this album kind of flows as like a mix in a sense. I feel like all the tracks kind of, not that they sound the same or anything, I feel like it's just kind of hard to differentiate. At least when I was listening through this, I've listened to this like a decent amount of times at this point, but it's hard to differentiate moments of when one track starts and when the next track ends. Not that that's a bad thing, but it kind of makes it harder for me to review just because I get certain moments confused with different tracks just because there is so much here. And I think it is super fun, and I do like how he kind of repeats a moment off for Super Ink Burst, like the vocal sample I think he has comes up at the end of God Grid, and it comes up on another track, I forget which one, but I like how he's like there's elements of unity throughout this entire project, which is nice.
Very much so.
There's a couple other examples that I can't remember at this point in time, but they're there of these a unifying element of sorts that is to this messy care-given project. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I got one question for you.
What?
Are you Team Yomi or Team Uso? A little bug boy.
Team Uso because that's a wrestler.
I'm team Little Bug Boy too. I've got a lot of faith in him. You go Uso.
So final thoughts?
I think it's hard to rate an album like this, definitely, because I don't really, like I said, instrumental, it just evokes different emotions in me. I know that you didn't get an Animal Crossing vibe from this. I know that you didn't think of the Splatoon soundtrack, but I probably didn't think of a lot of the things that you thought of when you heard this. I think like a lot like classical music, people didn't rate classical music back in the day. People didn't rate Bach chorales, like best to worst. People didn't rate Hector Berlioz's symphonies, you know? Because I think that being instrumental, it evokes different emotions in people. And there's obviously a storyline to Symphonie Fantastique, but what it evokes in you is different for everybody. And I think that this is the same way. Iglooghost is creating instrumental music that is purely emotion for every person. So I think it's difficult to rate it based on what you think, you know?
Yeah.
From a purely musical standpoint, I think that it's really interesting how the different tracks sound different. I guess, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Super Ink Burst, like I said, reminds me of Splatoon. Very drum heavy, but very cartoony, very in your face, but also with like a very bright landscape. What does that mean for everybody? I don't know. I liked it. Somebody else might not.
Overall, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this project, and I feel like it's different from everyone, how you're gonna interpret it. But personally, this is like the electronic album I've been kind of waiting for, just because it's like there's an actual reason for me to listen to it. Like there is a sense of character, there's a sense of care, but there's depth to this project, and I feel like with a lot of these electronic acts right now, there isn't really much depth to them. With this project, there's so much going on, and it's so hard to understand, but at the same time, it's different from each person, and I honestly really enjoyed this project. I've listened to it a bunch, and it's a great album just to have on in the background, and I don't like to say that for most albums, because I feel like when you say that, it kind of hinders the album in a sense.
It should be listened to actively, in my opinion.
But I personally love listening to this, having this just on in the background, because it keeps me woke, you know.
Woke,
no,
woke.
It's a rambunctious album just to have on the background to just keep your spirits high, keep your emotions
It's
up.
just fun. It's just a fun listen.
Fun listen. Overall, 8.6. I do really enjoy this project, and I'm excited to hear more from Iglooghost. Whatever that would be in the future, I don't know, but I hope he keeps on making music like this, because it's fantastic.
I'd have to go the same and give it about an 8.5. Like I said, I think it's just really difficult to try to rate something like this, but given the emotions that it gave me, I would definitely rate it very highly. I cannot recommend this album enough.
And that's that for this Iglooghost album, but I got one question. I know I said that Iglooghost, what's great about him is not the features, but his own production, but we're going to break that rule. Who are some people you would love to see, regardless of the artist, regardless of the genre, working with Iglooghost as a producer? I have one answer, and I think it's fantastic. I want to see a Danny Brown Iglooghost.
I was going to say Danny Brown.
Because if you listen to Danny Brown
and Vampire Weekend.
No, not that. That's a thing. I forgot about that for the longest time until you brought it up today. But if you listen to Paul White and Danny Brown's EP that they dropped earlier this year, I kind of get some, like, Danny Brown over those instrumentals would also fit over these instrumentals, and he can go so fast and so like aggressive that it would fit perfectly over this. But other than Danny Brown, I literally have no clue who would fit over well. You would
Bobby Shmurda.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Shmurda.
That's it.
That's it. I don't think there's anyone else, literally, because you have to, for at least a rapper, I don't think there's a singer out there that could sing over like Iglooghost production. You would have to be a rapper, and it have to be fast paced, and it have to be punchy, and it have to be out there. And Danny Brown kind of fits all those categories. I don't know anyone else that would really work, because you can't really have like someone slow like Earl Sweatshirt.
I could see maybe like Jenny Beth. It wouldn't. I don't really like Jenny Beth, but I think it would probably work.
I don't know how that. Again, it's just kind of hard. I feel like it only would fit with hip hop in a sense, just because it's just so fast.
I was just thinking singer wise.
Any grime artist would probably fit. Wiley, Skepta.
Skepta would fit.
Maybe Wiki even. He's not even a grime art. He's not a grime artist, but I feel like when he does go quick, and he's kind of wacky in a sense, his bars are kind of not goofy, but they're strange in a sense. His persona's strange, and I feel like that maybe fits. I don't know. There's a couple names, but like I feel like Danny Brown, he's the big one. Iglooghost, if you're listening, collaborate with Danny Brown, because I feel like that would be the greatest thing of all time. I don't know. It would just mesh so well. But I think that's it for this week's episode of the Anthony and Todd Show. Until next time, guys, make sure you like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, Google Play Music, and iTunes. And if you want to submit a question for next week's episode, there's a link in the description that will take you to a Google Form doc. But if you want to just put it in the comment section, if you just want to send us a tweet or say something on Facebook, you can do that. Go right ahead. We'll try to get to those questions. And if you like our theme songs produced by our big friend DJ Quest, our intro song is called No Sleep and our outro song is called Reply. The links are in the description. They should take you to SoundCloud. If that's still up, I heard like 70 days ago it was going to close in 50 days. So it's already closed at this point, I'm assuming.
I think so.
Like no one saved it out, right? No one.
I think our big friend did.
He saved it?
I think so.
Did he like put a life preserver on it and prevent it from drowning? That's good.
He gave up his own spot on the floating door. for SoundCloud.
That's
Our big friend drowned off the Titanic that day. I'm gonna miss him.
rest in peace, big friend. This has been episode 11 of the Anthony and Todd Show. An episode we would like to call Drive It Like It's a Car. Until next time, guys. See you.
Bye.